Welcome to Her Drive, the nexus where stories of women from every corner of the globe unite. And for this special series, we are talking sovereignty. I'm Cynthia Cramblett, your host, entrepreneur, and a woman on a personal quest for self-discovery and empowerment. Lately, the word sovereignty has been bouncing around in my mind as a question. What does it truly take to live self-governed in a world that seems so adamant to keep women caged? And how do other women seem to do this so well? Driven by my insatiable curiosity, I've sought the wisdom of women whose lives exemplify sovereignty, each sharing their unique definition, the journey to claim it, and strategies to sustain it in today's modern world. These women include artists, sexuality and kink practitioners, healers, coaches, female health advocates, and much more. I invite you to join us as we celebrate the paths women must navigate, crafting their destinies with resilience. Together, we'll delve into their experiences from the echoes of triumph to the struggles in silence, exploring what it means to truly own one's power. I'm really excited you're here, a place where every voice is amplified, every story cherished, and the sovereignty of every woman encouraged and celebrated.
Hello, and welcome back to an episode of Her Drive Podcast. This is the Sovereign series focusing on really badass women per usual, but this time we're adding in that extra sprinkle, discussing sovereignty and what's that like. And the women that are being featured in this particular series really embody sovereignty, at least in how I define it. And of course, they all have their own definitions. Today's guest is someone who I actually was a roommate with in college. We've seen each other through a lot of really hysterical moments, simultaneously some really fucked up ones as well. And I am very, very, very excited to introduce you all to the mad scientist. And she will get into all of that. Shay Fayard, welcome to Her Drive Podcast.
I am so excited to be here. The fact that you even asked is such an honor.
Well, when I was building this series, I honestly couldn't think of someone who was more deserving. Not that anyone deserves to be here, but for a lack of a better word, to be a part of this series, which is, to me, the word sovereign it means so much. And I can see in varying points in my life where I have a lot of sovereignty, in some places where I'm holding myself back from being sovereign, and in others where it's a societal fucking cage that really bothers me so much. But when I witnessed your life and your life story, I feel like you were definitely the cage bird that couldn't even sing, let alone for us to ask the question, why does the cage bird sing? And the journey that you've gone on is so amazing. So I can't wait to dive in. So let's go.
I'm ready.
All right. So when you say you're the mad scientist, what does that mean, and what does that encapsulate for you in this now moment?
I feel like you said, I spent a very long time caged. And I don't think that while I was living in survival mode, I got to actually experience life and live life. So 10 years of that has led to, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm 35 years old. So I call myself a mad scientist because I explore life every single day. I don't know what I'm going to do next month, but I know it's going to be different than what I'm doing right now. And I know next year I'm going to be a completely different person with experiences that I've never had before, simply because for so long I couldn't take chances and make decisions for myself. So now, instead of being scared of living life, I'm just saying yes. I'm just saying yes to everything, just being the mad scientist, learning and exploring, and then I can bring that to my clients and the people that I work with.
I think that's so great. And when you say clients and the people that you work with, what is it that you're teaching them and walking them through?
So I am very lucky to own a business alongside my husband. We have empire built. We like to take the everyday person who, I swear, they all come to me and they say, I just need help. I'm just a normal person. Nobody's a normal person, especially not when you're with us, because everything about you and your life and your environment around you makes you special. So when you work with us, we want to find the glass ceilings and the limiting beliefs that you have had created for you and that you've created for yourself and help you break through those. So we work with everybody from, I have 12-year-old, kids who just need to find some self-confidence, all the way to we have a 71-year-old that wanted to do a figure competition and got on stage and rocked it. So it's the pendulum swings in every direction. We don't have a clientele base. We just want to help everybody grow and find who they were truly meant to be, because we've all been so filtered by life that I feel like everybody needs a little bit of their mad scientist brought out.
I think that's so beautiful. And I feel like with what you're doing, helping people with their mindset, simultaneously their physique, can be very powerful on multiple levels and layers, right? What do you think about that?
It definitely is. When people start seeing the layers fall off of their body, the trauma that they built up over time, you don't realize how much you dive into food and these dopamine connections that give you that little bit of safe feeling. So when we get people in and we get them used to getting uncomfortable and to peeling off some of those layers and becoming vulnerable, they start truly finding who they are and working through some of the things that brought them to this point. And to see those breakthroughs made are the most beautiful thing. It's probably the most joyful thing that we get to do is watch people transform, watch these flowers bloom right in front of us.
I love that. Well, I'd like to go into your personal story because I don't feel like any powerful leader, coach, trainer, anyone, light worker just wakes up. Maybe a few people, but just wake up and they're like, "Oh, I know all these things." So, what's been your path to this place that you're in now?
I feel like I'm still rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. I'm still in my wake up journey, but in we'll go all the way back. Okay, so I was married for a while. I was brought up that you graduated high school and you went to college and you met the love of your life and you got married and bought a house and had kids, and that was just the right way to do everything. So that's exactly what I did. I started that journey when I was 19 years old. You were there. And I ended up the caged bird. I ended up sad and lonely and everything that was the opposite of what I thought this life was supposed to be. A husband that was never emotionally there. Even after having our son, I was a single mom, even though I wasn't. So that was hard. And then bring in the affair with the woman down the road and a baby that was created out of that while we were still married. All of the horrible things that you can think of as a woman to deal with and go through with your husband, I was dealing with it. So fast forward a couple years, I gave it my best shot and I was so unhappy. I couldn't I couldn't sleep. I was always feeling just suppressed and sad and screaming on the inside while slapping a smile on my face on the outside. And this person who is supposed to love me, who made their own mistakes, is now dictating my life. This is what you're allowed to wear to work today. These are the people you're allowed to talk to. Don't put a code on your phone. I want to be able to see what you're doing. And then it got to following me no matter where I went, standing over me in my sleep, like the scary things. And that's when I knew that there was a problem and I needed to get out. So when I finally got the courage and said, okay, I can't do this anymore, I've tried, but I'm done. 2 days later, he committed suicide. And since then, I feel like a lot of the people that I thought were friends, some that were family, just completely blacklisted my son and I. They only saw what was presented to them through his eyes and not the horror story that I was living on my side. And that was that's where it started. That was where I said I will never do this again. I will never put myself or my child in the position again where we have to just survive. So I've made steps every year to just be better. And I'm going to be completely honest, I've had so many things thrown back at me, so many hurdles put in my way that would have stopped most people simply because life's hard. It's so easy to just stay in the fight or flight, stay in what you know, even if it's painful. But I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for my son. So we just kept trucking, me and him side by side. And at the time, he was 3 years old. So here I am, with a 3-year-old, house payment, 2 car payments. I ended up losing my car. The the car company would not work with me at all. They were just like, sorry, we don't know what to tell you. Life insurance, we didn't get that because it was suicide. We ended up having to move from a 3-bedroom, beautiful house into a little 2-bedroom apartment just to make ends meet. I was telling my husband there were months that I ate nothing but Cheerios just because that's what I had to do as a mom to survive and make sure that he had childcare and food and was able to just be a kid and not have to deal with this. So I feel like if it hadn't been for my son, I don't know if I would have pushed forward as hard as I did, but I'm thankful for that. And since I went from the experience of coming back from being basically a suicide survivor and knowing that it easily could have been worse just due to the things that were happening, I ended up getting really sick and didn't know what was going on, just knew I wasn't feeling well. Finally found a doctor down here that would talk to me and not just say, "You're being hysterical. Take some Tylenol. It's fine," as they walk out the door. I found someone who would actually sit down with me and listen. And they did a scan and found a mass that we originally thought was uterine and sent me for a CT scan. At the time, the CT scan, the mass had grown like exponentially. It went from about the size of a baseball to the size of a cantaloupe in 2 weeks. Yeah, so we knew this was a problem. Got me straight in for surgery, and what we had thought was uterine ended up actually being a malformation of blood vessels that had shut my colon off. And yes, so they opened me up, and it looked like a heart that had grown in my colon. They said I'm a medical anomaly. I've been told that 3 times in my life now. That's not fun to hear, especially not multiple times. But they don't know how it happened other than possibility of it just being stress. And, as women, one of the main places that we hold stress is in our hip area, so I completely believe that. But ended up having that removed. They ended up taking about a foot of my colon out. Recovered from that thanks to the help of my mom who flew down to be with us, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not again, not letting this define who I am." Kept trucking. I actually met my husband about a week after my surgery. I was home, I was lonely. He said, "Hey, we'd been talking." And he said, "I gotta go get a haircut today. I know you can't drive. Do you just wanna ride with me?" So I did. And that's not something that I would ever do. I'm such a cautious person. I don't like meeting new people. But I'm so glad that I did because I feel like the universe definitely put him in my path. And that was a step. That was finding another human on this earth that believed in me as much as I did. And he and I started working together to just heal some wounds and understand the toxic relationship that I had been in, and that you can really find some peace in another person without being scared. So we had a goal. I had a goal that I wanted to do my first bodybuilding show by the time I was 30. I had my surgery in May of 2019, and I turned 30 in November of 2019. So it was really close. I want to say I ended up doing the show 23 weeks after my colon resection. And I mean, you've done bodybuilding, that is super strenuous, but it was a goal and I wanted to do it, and nobody was going to tell me no. So made that whole change, saw what I could actually do, what my body looked like underneath. At one time at my heaviest in my previous marriage, I was 210 pounds.
And you're also
I'm 5'1". I was literally a basketball, or that's how I feel now. But I got a little glimpse of who I could be. So every year I've tried to take it a little bit further. The next year I did a powerlifting meet just for fun, just to see what I could do. And that was the night before my powerlifting meet, that Sean proposed to me with a powerlifting belt that said, "Will you marry me?" on the inside. And these little things, just the fact that he was always a constant, and he was, even though he was in the background, he wasn't. He knew he was beside me the whole way, and he was always supporting me. So we give it a go again. We're like, all right, let's do another show. But this time he decides he wants to do one with me. We come into this show side by side. And if you know anything about prepping for bodybuilding, it is not easy. And you are a grouch. And to be able to do it beside your partner, most people are like, if you value your relationship at all, don't do it. It'll never work. Well, we killed it. We did awesome. We prepped side by side. We were the best team. And I ended up taking the overall in women's physique at that show, which was really exciting. I had placed before, but third through fifth, never taken an overall. But it was truly just another chance of getting that glimpse of that little person that I was inside, that I was trying to feed. And we just decided, like, let's do something every year. Let's both do something for growth every year. So next year comes, I'm like, all right, I want to do a powerlifting meet. So I get ready, I go in, I crush the meet. I end up taking first, which I never expected, because my first meet I bombed out in my squat. I didn't get to complete the meet. This time came in first place, almost took best lifter, and actually qualified for the world championships in that one meet. And one of my goals on my bucket list was to get an invitation to go to Worlds. Well, literally, I think 2 weeks later, I get the invitation. You are officially a world-class power lifter. Here's your invitation to the world championships. So being who I am, I'm like, well, I'm not going to say no. Click yes, sign up. So excited. And then after I signed up, I was like, what did I just do? So we started prep. I have a couple amazing coaches behind me that know my story and believe in me and what I'm trying to do, and just keep fostering the growth in me, telling me to show up for myself. So I prepped into Worlds, and in the most competitive class of the day, I took 5th place in my second powerlifting meet ever. Like, it was super exciting. I was actually one lift away from taking third, but that last deadlift, that 405 was not moving off the ground. I tried so hard though. But I feel like that was the point where I can tell my people, like, listen, I signed up and I just went and did it. I flew to Oregon. I'd never been to Oregon before, climbed a mountain 2 days before accidentally. We thought we were going on a hiking trail, and we get about halfway up, and I was like, I think we made a mistake. I was wearing Crocs.
Oh my God. Well, as an avid hiker, my definition of hiking is going up a mountain. Not what your definition is probably
Yes.
a little stroll. So it's important to understand the definitions of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, I'm thinking, hey, we got a little wooded trail. It's going to be nice, relaxing, some active recovery. And I'm telling you, we were like 21 flights straight up. And I was like, uh-oh, this is a problem.
Oopsies.
And it had poured down rain the day before. So my Crocs are sliding all over the place. People are looking at me like, who's this crazy woman in Crocs walking up here right now? But so 2 days out from Worlds, climbed a mountain, still came and took 5th. Just going to show people, like, just sign up. Just say yes. Say yes to yourself. Go have some fun. And every time that I have said yes, signed up, just did it, I have grown that much more as a person. And again, that's where the mad scientist comes in, because I'm going to experiment with life to the best of my capabilities. I've had way too many run-ins with the possibility of death now to say no to myself and to the experiences that are possibly out there. So then the most recent would be that while we were in Ohio for the Arnold Sports Festival, I started not feeling good. My I started losing my vision, which was the scariest thing. I'd been dealing with this pain for years, but I had just said, this is just what it is. The doctors say I'm fine. Obviously, the healthcare system failed me, but I had pushed through until the night before we were supposed to fly home. I was laying there thinking, okay, I can get up and I can go to the emergency room. Or when we fly home and we get back to New Orleans, I can go to the hospital there. And I was like, all right, if both thought patterns are going to the hospital, I think we just need to go to the hospital. And it ended up, thank goodness we were in Ohio because they handled me so quickly. And I had a team of all amazing women. So I love that. They found that I had an ovarian torsion that had actually flipped twice, cut off the blood flow. My ovary died and then ruptured because of the blood that was trying to force through that couldn't get through. So had my mom and husband not taken me to the emergency room that morning and I gotten on that plane, I might not be here talking to you today. But each of those experiences, whether it was, bodybuilding shows, powerlifting meets, the culinary section, the ovary, I feel like all of it has culminated in the person that I sit here as today. All of them were life lessons. And I just want to show people that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked back down, as long as you stand up. There's always going to be, another experience to have around the corner. And a lot of that is part of my awakening. So that's just where I'm at as of today. I feel like there's so much more that's coming. Big things are on the horizon. So I'm really excited.
I'm sure you are. Well, it's been really cool to witness your growth and full transparency, guys, like Shay and I were roommates in college, and I think we were both two different people at that time. I think at that point you were seeing your late husband, and then I was seeing a guy who was very emotionally abusive, and that was my first real exposure to emotional abuse. And now to see us both a lot wiser,
A lot wiser.
a lot wiser, a lot stronger. It's really quite profound. And I think that you and your husband have a pretty unique dynamic in that you both have your own stories of like struggle and pain. And it seems like you really get that in one another. And for some reason, have this strong capability to hold a container for the other. Am I right in that assessment?
You are 100% right. He had a very traumatic childhood, riddled with, drug use. He was on his own at the age of 13, went to the military, ended up in prison. Just all of the things that as a little girl from Ohio, I never saw. I grew up in, the middle class family. Mom was a teacher, dad was a coach, brothers were both quarterbacks of the football team. I was a cheerleader. I never saw drugs. I never saw abuse of any kind. I had the most supportive family. So it's almost like I can give him parts of what he never had. And then in return, he is so supportive and loving of me that he gives me everything that I was seeking in my first marriage but never found. And I feel like because of the trauma that we've both been through, we're so much more appreciative of what the other is able to offer. I was thinking today, I was like, I feel like I'm 12 years old and live with my best friend. Like he's a boy, like back when it was okay to have a boy as your best friend. Or he's my husband. And I get to wake up with him every day and go to bed with him every night. And we work side by side all day. And we don't get sick of each other. And if we do, we're like, hey, I need you to just go in the other room for a few minutes. Okay. I need to breathe.
That's magnificent. Well, in your challenging moments or just in your day-to-day life, are there certain like rituals, practices, modalities that you tap into daily, weekly, monthly, annually that really keep you centered or bring you back to center in fragile moments?
I do. I have all kinds of things that I do. There's the mad scientist again. I I dabble in witchcraft. People think of it as this crazy thing, but to me, it's just worshiping my body and what I'm capable of, and being thankful for the beautiful home that I've been able to create for myself. So every month, I do a whole house cleansing ritual that I feel wipes any negativity that we may have tracked in from the outside. On Sundays, I take my witchy bath where I just take a bath. I soak. I thank my feet for carrying me through, troubled days. I thank my legs for being able to support me through times of stress. I thank my heart for always having a tender spot for people, even when my mind is like, I can't do it right now. But it's just finding the everyday things and being thankful for them. But that, and then I have my non-negotiables. Like every morning I get up and I take my inner bath, which your inner bath is the first thing I do is take in a liter of water.
Hmm.
Get as much down as possible. Start my body off on a healthy note before I start guzzling my coffee that's going to get me through my first couple clients. And I do my training. I weight train 4 days a week. That is my outlet. It's my love. It's what I can't live without. It's been really hard the past month because I haven't been able to. I'm finally released to up to 50 pounds, so I can do a little bit now. And so it feels good to be able to move my body again. And then I take about 10 minutes every day. I messaged you about this the other day. When I get home between clients before my office hours, I actually lay on the floor next to my cat Luna in the sun, and I spend 10 minutes just sunning. No noise, no music, no TV playing, nobody else in the house, just me, my kitty, and some sunshine. Because if there's anything I tell my clients is that everybody needs to get 10 minutes of sun on their face every day. And those are my non-negotiables. Those are things that regardless of what's happening in my life, I'm going to make those things work.
Mm-hmm. Well, what those all sound like to me is like deeply intentional work.
It is.
Yeah.
It's things that I never did for myself. For
Mm-hmm.
so long, I didn't do anything for me. And then when I met Sean and I started doing things for myself, I would feel guilty. Like I wouldn't even go get a haircut. He'd be like, "You need to get a haircut." I could use the money for this. And he's like, "No, this is a non-negotiable. Go get your haircut." So it's taken the push from somebody who cares to show me that it's not selfish to do these little things. It's needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 10 years not realizing that.
Which is so crazy to me, like looking back on the amount of warping that happens in abusive relationships. And for those who haven't been in them, like, thank God, you know. But what
Bless
they
you for
do,
not.
like this, for me, the experiences that I've had in these types of relationships, it was like a slow overtake of my soul, my spirit, my light, my creativity. And like you, it's like to the outside world, you're still trying to present as the person that you actually are, or that they're used to. And I will never forget, one of my dear friends told me once when I was visiting her in Miami, she's like, listen, if you continue to choose him, you're going to lose yourself. It's already happening. Every time I see you, you're less and less of yourself, and you're just going to disappear. You're going to be gone.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And, God blesses all of us with options. And I had so many options to leave that weren't scenarios as scary in the way that you were experiencing, but in their own levels, like guns involved and things where it's like, it's not good. It's not good. You got to get out. But for you to make this like giant leap and shift, I think is so inspirational for the people who are out there who may be in these dynamics. Like, how can you describe that feeling of knowing that someone's not right for you?
I tell people all the time, I deal with a lot of women, and I hear a lot of stories that feel very familiar, that almost raise the hair on the back of your neck
Hmm.
because you know. And I always tell them, I said, if do you ever feel like your entire inside is full of TV static? And they're like, yes. I'm like, that's it. That's how you know. You're never settled. That TV static moment never goes away. You just always feel like you're exploding from the inside, but on the outside, you know you have to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived way too long like that. And I hate now seeing women dealing with the same thing, and it breaks my heart. I wish I could pluck them out of their situations, but I know I can't. All I can do is just lend an ear, give some solid advice, and let them know that they do have a safe space.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And that static feeling that you're referring to me is it's the nervous system. You
Just
know,
firing on all cylinders.
it's just like
You're not safe.
ah!
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not safe. And as you said, you can't pluck them out. It's something that they have to go through. And one of the things that I appreciate about the experience is now I can super empathize and be compassionate with people way longer than what the average person who's not been in an abusive relationship can, because they simply don't understand. They're like, just leave.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. You can't just leave.
Mm-hmm.
They
It's like,
don't realize how deep-seated it is.
it's a really weird mind fuck. And you just look at yourself with these weird eyes of like how you're wrong, you can't get anything right. And I could go on and on and on.
Just the constant apologizing to everybody, and I'm like, if I should be apologizing to anybody, it's to me. Like, I am sorry that for so long, I put you in a position where you couldn't be happy.
And look at you now. You're saying
I'm so happy.
that. Well, beautiful love. What is your definition of sovereignty?
My definition of sovereignty would have to be the ability to walk without questioning yourself in every aspect of life. It doesn't matter who you want to be, who the picture in your head is. Nobody else's opinion of that matters but yours. And you should not let anybody else filter that image for you.
Mm.
Because for so long, my image was filtered and distorted. And I finally have a clear picture of who that person is again. And not a single person is going to stop me from reaching her.
Mm. Amen, sis.
Like, simple, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think women have a harder time in the United States being sovereign than men?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Duh.
Because everybody has an opinion of what we need to be as a female.
Mm.
Don't be too skinny, but don't be too fat. You better be quiet and submissive, but I want you to be sexy too, but not too sexy. Like, it's a constant mind fuck.
Yeah.
That's why I told you I wore this shirt for a reason. I am the problem. I am the problem because I'm going to make you uncomfortable if you try to tell me who I am supposed to be.
Mm.
Because it is not anybody else's life to walk in but my own. The only person's opinion that I might take is my husband's, and it's only because I know that he will always have my back, and if he's telling me something, it's because I need to see it.
Mm.
And a lot of times I don't see it. So he will bring me back and be like, hey, take a look at this from a different angle. But I also know that my husband is a feminist. He believes in women being empowered and being able to make their own choices. And I think that's something that we could use a lot more of. We need men who are healed or healing and can sit with women and have these discussions and understand that they will never know how we truly feel and what we truly deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a huge problem in the United States. I mean, I know it's a problem everywhere, but oh my goodness, like, I can't even walk into Walmart without somebody catcalling me some terrible thing, and God forbid you say something back to them, because then you're a bitch.
Which is the strange thing. Like, you're saying inappropriate things to me. I respond and I'm somehow like wrong for
Yes.
rejecting you. Oh God. When I used to live in Miami, men would like catcall and do crazy things or basically ask me if I was a prostitute. And I got to the point whenever I'd be walking and someone would do that, I would just go,
I did that too. I did that at Walmart last week. And I whistled and I was like, they don't know what to think. They're like,
all right.
psycho? Like,
Okay.
yes, psycho. You're right.
Yeah, maybe that's what we women need to do is just start like acting like absurd in those situations, and then
They're
you know,
like,
I've
I don't
always
know what to
wondered,
say.
did that stop them or make them pause in the future to not say anything to a woman
I
in
was
the
like,
future?
maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I swear half of what they say is word vomit anyway. One guy was like, "Ooh, those are some nice leggings you got on there." And I had my son with me, who at the time I think was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I turned around and said, "I have my son with me." He said, "Well, it's your fault for wearing those leggings." I'm like, "No, sir. I'm sorry. It's your fault for thinking like a rapist." And he was like,
Well, truth hurts,
"Yeah,
pal.
it's not fun, is it?"
No, not fun. Well, Shay, I just adore you and I love you so much. And one of the things about you is that you are literally like a badass and you're as weird as you are, cool and strong and such an inspiration to all of us. So thank you for existing.
I appreciate being called weird.
Right?
I
Me,
love that so much.
yeah, I'm like, call me intelligent, call me weird, and call me freaky, and I'm yours.
Yep. Wicked and otherworldly.
I beautifully appreciate that. And you'd mentioned some witchcraft before, and I think some of it is you're referring to simmer pots,
I
right?
love simmer
What's a simmer
pots.
pot? I'm trying to get into this.
The simmer pots?
Yeah.
They're amazing. So my go-to, I love creating environments and I love cozy.
Hmm.
Christmas is like my favorite time of year, just the coziness. So I just do an old pot, fill it up with some water, a couple inches, put in some vanilla, fresh cinnamon sticks. You can do apple slices, you can do half an orange, some clove, and just bring it to a simmer. And it'll like fill your house with beautiful smell all day long. And you don't have the chemicals that you get from candles and wax melts and things like that. And
That's
I just take my time and as I'm putting it together, I just put intentions into it. So whatever I feel that the house might need that day.
that's so beautiful and tapping into your intuition. And I think one of the most beautiful things about going through traumatic situations and healing through them is that it for me has strengthened my intuition and like connection to God. And even for like little things like today or last night, I was pulling these. I have a lot of costumes, and I was taking my costumes out of my home, and I was moving them into the elevator to go back to storage. And my keys were sitting on top of the box, the top box. And I had this thought of like, before you pull those boxes across the elevator shaft, you should pick them up. Well, I did. But in many situations, I've not listened to that and things have fallen down into the elevator shaft. So that's like a super simple, like silly little thing.
But it's the little things.
It's the little things. And I feel like if we listen to those little calls and we do it, or even notice when you don't listen to the little call and something happens, that was my intuition. So you can very quickly recognize like where a message comes in, what side of your body or your head or how it feels in your body. And while I was intuitive and super happy and like centrally connected to myself prior to my a very traumatic relationship, I wasn't connected to God in the same way that I am now. And it seems like you have a very potent connection as well.
I do. Actually it was funny that you said that about the keys because about a week ago, I was headed to the gym for a client and through the left side of my head, I was like, you need to take the side road today. And I was like, oh, it's a pretty day. Let me drive the side roads, lots of live oaks. It's a nice little drive. Got to the gym and they were like, oh man, Pass Road's a mess. There was an accident and somebody died. And I would have been driving right through there when it happened.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm so glad that I actually chose to listen today. Cause like you said, there's so many times that I don't. And I'm like, oh, I knew better.
Mm.
But yeah. And then as for being more connected, so one of the things that I contribute this to is Sean and I have been doing the 4 agreements,
Mm.
the Toltec wisdom, because he is studying to be a shaman.
Ooh.
We've talked about that a little bit. And just being more aware of myself, the energy around me when higher powers, and I don't always know who's talking to me, but when I'm getting messages, hey, you might be having a rough day, but it's going to be okay. Here's a little bit of sunshine, or, maybe some water droplets that are reflecting some pretty colors. Like, here's a little glimmer. It's going to be okay. and listening to that and not reverting back to what I knew for so long, which was, let me find the negative. Where's the negative? Because if I'm aware of the negative, then I know it's going to happen, and then I can prepare for that to happen. And instead, I'm like, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to listen. We're listening to the fact that there's a breeze blowing through your hair and the sun shining on your face, and your favorite song just came on the radio out of nowhere. And these are the connections from the universe, God, whoever, whatever you call it, that there doesn't be a fight about it. We all know there's a greater power.
Yeah.
And it's just being open to receiving those messages.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you could go back in time and give a younger you some words of advice, what age would you go back to and what would you say?
Well, for some reason I have 10 stuck in my head. I don't know why 10 years old keeps coming up. But I mean, my little boy's 10, but I think going back to a time of innocence before, boys came in and things got hectic, and just saying, take the time and be a kid. Enjoy life. Don't worry about the mean things those girls at school say. Don't worry about, you know, trying to be as pretty as other people. Just go out and have fun and be a kid, because you're not going to be able to be a kid for long. Things are going to get hard. You're going to get through it, but they're going to get hard. So enjoy now. And that's one of the things I'm trying to instill in my little boy is just go be a kid. Go have some fun. He's a worrier like me. And so I feel like all the time I'm telling him, like, it's okay. You're not in trouble. You don't have to look at me with those little eyes like what I do. He reminds me of myself so much. And I think that's probably why 10 comes up in my head, is just when you're an empath or a highly sensitive person, and I truly believe that he is, you never feel like you're right in the world. And I definitely felt that around 10 years old. I felt like I was different. And I wish I could just say, hey, you are different, but you're different in the most beautiful way. And you're going to come into it later in life. You're going to go through some really hard things, but you're going to find it, and then you're going to thrive in it. My computer just went crazy. Oh, I lost you. I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
That's hilarious. I muted myself.
Oh, I was like, where'd you go?
Well, I'm sorry, guys. We're keeping it authentic. My cat was like chasing a fly that got in here, and she was like chirping and making a lot of crazy sounds. So I didn't want it to interfere with you. But anyway, the floor is yours. If there's anything you'd like to share, any advice for those seeking their own sovereignty, et cetera, et cetera.
So I do have something to share with you, and this is something I haven't really told anybody yet. I think we might have spoken briefly about it before, but I'm going to be completely honest. In surgery, my mind has not been the best. I have like post-surgical amnesia, but have been working for a while on a concept that I have named Project Valkyrie, and I am trying to go nonprofit with it, but I want to give women an outlet, women who have been through struggles like we have, where they were stifled and caged and need to be able to start over again, but don't know how. I want to be able to provide them with the opportunity to do the small things for themselves that for so long I wouldn't do. And I want to get female business owners or females that are, professionals in their field to help. So let's say somebody just needs a haircut. Well, I'm going to send them to someone that I know is going to give them the best experience and make them feel beautiful and empower them. Or maybe they need an outfit for a job interview because they're on their own for the first time and it's super scary and they need to feel confident in who they are walking into this interview. So I'm going to set them up with someone who can help them find an outfit. And my goal is to be able to cover these small things for them, just as I've been there. I see you. I see everything that you are going to be one day. This is my gift to you. So I've got a Facebook page started where I'm uploading content. I'm blogging and doing all kinds of things right now, just trying to mold this and nurture it and help it grow. Sean told me, I told him, I said, I don't quite know what it is yet, but I know it's going to be big and I know it's going to be amazing. And he said, just keep painting, baby. It'll come. So Project Valkyrie is in the works, and I'm really excited for what the possibility of it being. And I don't know 100% what it's going to be yet, but I just know it's going to be big and it's going to be amazing. And we are going to take care of some amazing women.
Love. Well, you have my full support there. And I love what your sweetie said to you, because it's so true to be in that beautiful painting, dreaming phase and to have that strong feeling of like what you're describing. And then the moment when you realize it's come manifest fully is going to be really powerful.
Yeah. It's been coming for a few years. Like the name came to me first, and it's slowly coming together. I've talked to my mom a little bit about it, Sarah, our friend Sarah, and just other women who have been through things in life. And you know what would have helped you? What would have helped you when you needed it? And I'm going to just try to grow it from there. It's just in the inception of it, but it's going to be beautiful.
Amen, sister. I totally believe it. Well, where can everyone find you to support your upcoming projects, to potentially work with you, or just to be a fan like I am?
So I am on Facebook at Shay Fayard. We also have Facebook for the business, Empire Training and Nutrition. Then on Instagram, you can find me under Muscle Nug, Instagram and TikTok. I'm not great at TikTok. I got to get better at it. And then we have www.empirebuilt.org. You can reach me through any of the locations. And we do everything from personal training to bodybuilding and powerlifting coaching, mindset work, just personal growth. You have something you need help with, contact us and we will build something for you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, love. It has been a true joy.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm so glad that I got to be here, and it was awesome to see your face again. I've missed you.
I know we've got to make it an in-person thing very soon.
We do.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of Her Drive as a special part of the Sovereign series, and something that's coming up as a part of this series coming to a conclusion in June is a little event that I am hosting. It is called Sovereign Solstice, and it's going to be on solstice and an all women's event. If you're interested in joining us and learning more about it, go to her-drive.com/events. It is going to be an amalgamation of so many powerful modalities that I have been quietly crafting within myself, some naked time in nature, and all, if you want to be naked. And ultimately just a reconnect with our femininity, with Pachamama, Mother Earth, and amazing women who need that same type of community that I think all of us are really, really desiring. So until next time, thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you for witnessing this episode of Her Drive Sovereign, and I invite you to celebrate with us on summer solstice for a retreat for women by women. To learn more, visit her-drive.com/events, and cheers to sovereignty. Love you, ladies.